Dunwall Whiskey Distillery.
Yes, indeed. Hey, everybody, Shawn Andrich and Shawn Sands here from Gamers with Jobs. I'm still laboring under my cold, but we are here to bring you some footage of Dishonored.
I'm still feeling great, by the way.
That's good. I'm glad you're feeling healthy. That's the important thing. So the little slice of game I'm going to show you today this is actually a side quest on the second mission in the full game. And I've picked this because it shows off a bunch of elements without spoiling any main story stuff. But it's going to give you a good feeling about the overall game.
Hey, we got a message for you from Slackjaw.
I'm kind of here because I actually haven't played the game yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm here as sort of the unknown analog. Like, what am I looking at?
Yeah, so what you're looking at, this is kind of the... if you think of Vampire the Masquerade, they gave you a village, like an area to kind of walk around, and then you did different missions within that. It's kind of similar here. You go from your home base on a boat, and you come in. So this is actually the second time I've been in this area. The first time I was here too. So I've actually kind of explored some of this stuff, but now I've been to Dunwall Whiskey, for example, and I did a lot of thievery and bad stuff here, and now I'm coming back to talk to this guy because he may have some relevant information for my mission. So you probably noticed that thing where it said there's a bone nearby, pick up your heartbeat. Mm-hmm. So the interface, there's two ways to do it. There's the radial menu, which is this guy, and so here's my heart, and so the heart, I can see there's a bone charm here, bone charm here, bone charm up here in this area. So bone charms are just little augments you can get. They're not really huge game changers so far, but they will give you a little bump to different skills. Like I've got bone charms, I've got acrobat, whirlwind, spirited, undertaker. They all give me just a little boost, but nothing crazy. So they just reward a bit of exploration. So let's
do you have to equip them, or are they just in your
you equip them in your inventory. I've got 4 slots, okay. So I'll actually have more of those than I've got slots for them. So I'm going to go into the Dunwall Whiskey Distillery. On the PC, at least, this is the PC version. Loads are super fast, like really quick.
That was nice.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to last much longer in there.
That's what they get for taking free swigs from the still. That tainted elixir is bad stuff, I guess.
It's what they call irony, I think. Elixir is supposed to prevent the plague sickness, fight it off. But someone poisoned the bootleg still, and now we got the elixir that gives you the plague.
Lots of exposition NPCs in Dishonored. Very, very classic sort of way of telling story. Lots of environmental storytelling. But you'll get lots of that. There's also lots of rats. There's actually an option in the graphics that let you enable or disable rat shadows specifically, because there are literally swarms of rats. So again, rune or bone charm nearby. You can actually disable these indications if you want in the option. So there's a bone charm right over here. And looks like it's behind these bars, and there's a bunch of plague victims in here. In the overall world of Dishonored, there's this huge plague. It's killed half the city already. So you're trying to effect some change within this, and there's a whole backstory to that, which again, I really want to give you a sense of the game without spoiling a ton. So I'll just avoid talking about too much of that right now. So we're just...
Easy. You just need a bit.
Ain't you heard? Slackjaw keeps the good stuff for himself. Rest of us get 1 part elixir, 3 parts water.
Elixir is the thing that actually lets you, so you can climb chains, things like that. Elixir is the thing that actually lets you survive the plague, is the idea. And there's kind of there's rationing on it, so there's a lot of infighting about who gets the elixir.
Picked up anything good?
Why don't you talk a little bit about the system you're playing this on? So, I mean, it looks terrific. You've got a good, smooth frame rate. How's your system? What's your EP-ness look like? Could you describe it?
It's a Core i5 2500K, so which means it's an unlocked processor. I've overclocked it to 4 gigahertz. It's got 8 gigs of RAM. I've got a GeForce 660 Ti, which is kind of their newest card, but it's their newest mid-level card. So it's not the GTX 670 or 680, but it's pretty high up there. Now, my frame rate, keep in mind, I'm actually playing at 1900 by, I'm playing at 1080p, but the video is condensing down to 720p for performance reasons, so I can get a good 30 frames. When I'm playing without recording, I'm getting like 80 to 90 frames a second. It runs like butter. It's using the Unreal Engine. It runs great, so no problem there. So here's Slackjaw.
He is a villain if I judge your looks aright. A villain I might have some work for. Somebody put plague in the brute tank. Half my men are weak.
I wonder who may have done that.
In the distillery. Rest are wandering in the street. Since it's so, and I find myself short of able bodies, I may have a point of interest for you, see?
Slackjaw's got an idea.
Way I figure it, there ain't nobody worth killing around here except those 2 Pendletons over
there. The Pendletons are my main target for this mission. So Slackjaw is,
them boys are twins.
I'm actually going to skip some of this. So Slackjaw is what we'd call a side quest. So when I'm actually looking at my objectives here, and I go to tasks, I got to eliminate the Pendletons. I got to kill them. I got to get rid of them one way or another. Now, Slackjaw is offering me a way to get at the Pendletons in a different way. So I could choose to go straight for the Pendletons. But by doing this Slackjaw side quest, it's going to give me more options when I go to do the main mission. And the first mission also followed that same pattern, which is there's a main mission, you can just get right to it if you're impatient, but if you want to do some side stuff, there's probably a good hour worth of content that's going to help you do your main mission and you see more and do more in the game. So there's that. So Dishonored has got a lot of powers in it. It's very Bioshock. In fact, interface-wise, it's very Bioshock. If you play with a controller, which I'm not, I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, you get your dial, which is very Bioshock. You know, you just move your mouse around and pick what you want, or your analog sticks, the case may be. I've got my heart here, which reveals runes and bone charms. I've got different traps in my pistol, grenades, crossbow, sleep darts, incendiary bolts, dark vision, blink, and slow time. So I got all these great powers. I can assign those to hotkeys, which I've done, or I can use the radial dial. So I'm enjoying this mouse and keyboard. I think it works pretty well.
You know, as a person who's had heart surgery, that's really disturbing, by the way. Really uncomfortable with
So it looks like the plague victims got out of their cage, so now they're running around, and this is one of the funnier attacks that the NPCs have. They shoot fire out of their mouths with alcohol. It's a very gamey thing that they do. You know, like see, he just threw his alcohol as a grenade. Now he's got another one. Like that's their jam. So I'll show you a bit of melee combat in a bit. So here's that bone charm. So this bone charm here, it tells you how many are in the level.
You know, that's got to get hot eventually.
Oh, he just
eventually
goes.
You got to be like, well, that's enough. That's good. I'm just going to hit him. He's got a club too. It's like he has a choice.
Yeah. So
I could shoot fire out of my mouth, or I could hit him with a club.
So general way of things is right-click to use your auxiliary hand, which is for powers or your weapon, and then left-click is for your sword, which is that guy there. And then you can, and if you're one of those people like me, you don't like walking around with your weapon out when you don't have to use it, you can just sheath all that stuff, which is nice. So go back to Bottle Street.
Does the controls feel tight? I mean, does it feel good to combat itself?
They do. The controls do feel pretty good. It's clear. This is clearly a. So you can see here my quick bar along the bottom. This is clearly a game that was paced for a console with a controller. So, but you know the controls feel good. So I'm just gonna walk. I need to go to Dr. Gallivanti's office, which is actually another area I was in the last mission, which might make you think like, oh god, they're reusing areas, what a bummer. It's actually kind of cool because I made decisions and did things in these areas that may come into play when I go back. Oh, what's this? Okay, we got a problem here. So the nice thing about the dial is it lets me bring up different stuff. So I'm being attacked, and I don't like that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to incendiary here. See how he likes that. And then we'll switch over to my gun. Oh, there's more than one.
Oh.
I'm doing great so far. So you can block melee attack. Melee tends to end pretty abruptly. So you can basically block when they attack. You know, if you time your block, you can actually get them to stumble and drop them. So,
I'm sorry, did you just take his head away?
See, the important thing, though, is not the decapitation, Shawn. It's that I blocked him in time, so that I set him up for it.
I don't care about that shit. His head just came off his body.
So this is the Arcane Studios factor here, right? There's a lot of Deus Ex. There's a lot of Thief in this game. Arcane has always done really great first-person sword fighting and stuff. And here, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, same thing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we just dealt with those assassins.
Not a great game, but just elements of it were so good.
So here's a shopkeeper who I helped liberate in the last one. So now he'll sell me stuff if I want to buy things. So I'll show you some other powers real quick. So I'm going to need to do some traversal here. So I need to get over to his offices. I don't want to get caught. So I'm actually going to use Blink, which is kind of it's a grappling hook with a bit more flexibility. So when I blink, it'll just jump me to wherever I'm looking. So I can actually blink when I get it a little up there. It lets me jump up onto the edge. So Blink is super useful for just traversing the area quickly.
Are there any resources? So I mean,
yeah. So
I
on the
little red and blue bars.
Yeah. So on the top left, it's all contextual. You can actually have it on all the time, or you can make it contextual. So when I use something, it pops up. So blue is your mana. When I blink, see the mana goes down a bit. If you wait, it'll charge back up.
And then it recovers. Okay.
Now, if I use a bunch of stuff all at once, it's not going to recover back up to full. That's when you need to use potions. So that's kind of one of the key differences there. And then the other one is my health, of course, and I have potions to deal with that as well. So now the trick with Dishonored is that, see, now there's a guard sitting right there. I'm not down with that, so I'm actually going to switch over to my sleep dart. And I'm going to just go ahead. Actually, no, I think maybe I can get behind him. Let's see if I can do that.
None of this would have gotten so bad if that damn fool Corvo hadn't killed the Empress.
I'm Corvo, and I was set up for that, so that's not my fault. So you can go kill, or you can go not kill. So I'm going to not kill. Just give a nice little choke there. Loot his body, get some money.
Stupid rats.
The more guys you kill, the more chaos you create. The more chaos you create is going to affect later missions, and it'll ultimately affect the end of the game. So they do try and give you a reason to not kill everything in sight.
Shy son. Not a big deal. Maybe you can go up later and take a look after them other two are gone.
Of course, you can lean over corners. Now, I want to be able to see what these guys are doing, so I'm going to switch over to my dark vision, which lets me see my enemies.
And then are you seeing also that, like, their
yeah, you've got their cone of vision. So here's the problem with him. He's about to come up on me here, so it's a great time for a sleep dart. I'm going to want to grab him before the other guy shows up.
How much of this game is stealth?
You know, it's kind of up to you.
Okay.
So I wouldn't put this at Thief. This isn't at Thief levels of stealth. You can they say you can play without killing anybody, and I believe them. But I would say that the stealth, rather than sitting in shadows, there's a lot of levels that are like this. There's not a lot of shadow. Like, I was in plain sight there. But the stealth is more active in the sense that I can move quickly. You know, I can get around very fast. So, see, I can lean around corners. If I'm like this, they won't see me even if they're line of sight.
It's interesting because, I mean, you seem to have a lot of power.
Tons,
you seem to have a lot of
and they give you those powers
the world.
right away, like right away.
Yes. So it really is sort of a morality check in some ways.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The sense is that you could go tearing through this thing and just rip people to shreds, and you can look through keyholes.
Isn't that adorable?
Oh, shit.
Isn't that like the cutest thing?
That.
All right, so his back is turned. So I just don't like guards walking around, but I don't necessarily want to kill him. So I'm just going to go ahead and warp over behind him, and you can actually start to drag him a bit as you're choking him out, which is useful. So I'm looking for Slackjaw's informant. He's in this building, and he wants to find out what happened to him. So that's why I'm in this mansion right now. So I'm just going to throw his unconscious body there. And they don't wake up. It's cool.
That was just... You don't wake up. It's cool. All right.
Okay, so I need to go upstairs. So problem is going upstairs, of course, is I don't know exactly what I'm going to be walking up to, and I don't necessarily have a lot of great shadow here. So again, I'm going to get my night vision up, which is dark. You can increase the brightness, but I kind of prefer just, you know, letting the game be a little bit dark. So we got two dudes up here.
What do you think?
I think
Lots of rats. Now, do they have shadows?
They all have shadows. I'm running a monster rig. I get all the shadows.
We ain't gonna waste
All
time
the
solving
rat
it.
shadows.
Personally, I'd buy
Now, using this night vision, by the way, is not draining my mana actively. You just activate it, you pay the cost, and you're good. And then it'll last for a given amount of time. So they kind of reward you for pacing your power usage out somewhat. Some coin there. So that's a very thief thing to do, by the way. Taking things off of, you know, tables and hearing that nice little clink sound. That's one of those thief legacy things that's in Dishonored that I really appreciate.
After what happened last night?
Never doubt it.
So I've also got a monocle that lets me zoom in a little bit, which is useful, I suppose. Alright, so I'm going to let this guy... So you see here, if I'm leaning and I'm just kind of poking out, he's not going to spot me. So is he going to go down the stairs, or am I going to have to deal with him? That's my question.
Now, do shadows play a part? So, if you are in the shadows,
you are more hidden.
You have an advantage.
And I haven't unlocked it yet, but apparently, so here's where the stealth, here's where the difference is, right? I'm not crossing that area in a way that's going to get me seen. I'm just jumping over there and grabbing them. So this is a much faster, more active stealth game than Thief, for example. This is more akin to Deus Ex, but I'd even say this is faster than Deus Ex. Sorry, what were you asking? I had to drop that dude and I got distracted.
No, you answered it. I was asking whether shadows played a part.
Yeah, so they do. If you're in shadow, you're less likely to be seen, but it's like, obviously I don't have like a gem that tells me how hidden I am, right? So
now, is there a bunch of ways to this point? So, or you know, whether within this particular mission or other missions, do you have a lot of different ways to get where you're going?
Typically different entry points, you know, whether you're going to go in hot and aggressive, whether you're going to go in just kind of stealthy, whether you want to, you know, take dudes out or just kind of ignore them completely as best you can. I'm always one to... Oh shit, I pressed the wrong button.
No!
All right, well, let's show a little more combat here. Oh, he's pulling out a gun. That's not good.
Firing!
Cut his head off. Do it!
So this guy's tough, actually, so I'm just going to even the odds a little bit.
Oh! Oh no!
So stealthy. So you can play it like an action game, right? You can run in, get into fights, and do all that stuff. Or you can be sneaky, try not to be seen. You can take guys out. There's always different ways of getting to things. There's lots of little thief-like puzzles at times where like you need to enter in a certain code. So here's a rune, by the way. So here's my heart. There's a rune. Now I'm just going to pick that up. Now here's the cool thing about the rune. I'm going to right-click.
Where did that heart come from? Shit.
I'm not going to tell you where it came from. That's a story thing. But I will tell you the heart is a really neat storytelling device. Because when I right-click when I'm holding the heart...
You can hear them too, crying out in the dark.
The heart will talk to you. If you point at an NPC, especially a named one, and you click the heart, the voice, it's a lady's voice, will actually tell you something about that NPC. Or if you're in an area and you right-click with the heart, it'll tell you something about the area. And there's some kind of story behind the heart and the voice behind it that I have not uncovered yet. So there's even a mystery around that. You can see the clockwork inside the heart. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really neat wrinkle. So here's my clue. Got Crowley's last message. So I'm going to go back out to Clavering Boulevard here. I've got what I needed. All right, so I'm actually higher up here, so you can kind of see that, you know, there's lots of elevation, lots of ledges, and thanks to Blink, you can get around pretty quickly. You can really jump around very nicely.
Do you get Blink early on?
Right away. It's the first power. It's the only power they force you to take. After that, they say, okay, every power is available to you. So when I'm actually in my powers, I can choose. Like I've got, as I collect runes, I use them to unlock other powers. Once I've got Blink, after that, it's like, what do you want to be? Do you want to possess other guys? Do you want to have devouring swarms of rats? Wind blast? Shadow kill's nice. If I kill an enemy and they're not aware of me, their body disappears, which is really useful because then I don't have to worry about disposing it. Problem is I have to kill the enemy to get the effect, and I don't really want to be killing a lot of dudes. So here's just kind of the waterfront, just give you a better sense of like how...
The atmosphere in this game is really cool.
The atmosphere...
I mean, immediately I'm looking at it and I'm thinking... I'm just really marveling at the detail and the architecture, but not just that, but the tone it sets.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got a ton of layers. It's telling stories in a lot of different ways. And it's given me a lot of interesting ways to get around the world, a lot of different options. They really have worked hard to give you a lot of different play styles. So we'll go back to Dunwall Whiskey here.
Hey, wait a bit. What just occurred to me? How come it's always me who pay for the whiskeys?
Definitely. Shush up your mouth. Watch it. You know I can't work out the right number of coin. It's embarrassing. Someone's still prowling around.
The voice acting is good, the story, the writing are all good. Like, the environments are lush. Now, this is on a PC and it's hard to tell with the video conversion. The textures are good, they're not mind-blowing. You are going to hit points where you're like, you're going to look, you'd be like, that's a console texture. There's definitely that stuff there, but just playing at high resolution is worth the price of admission. Oh, it's like, oh, my health's low? Here's another thief thing. Lots of little touches like that, you know, lots of little bibs and bobs and stuff like that. This is more thief than Deus Ex was, for sure.
It's been a while since I've seen a game like this. I mean, I'm immediately thinking this feels... And again, I haven't played it yet, but this doesn't feel like something I've played recently.
No, this is in the same lineage as Thief, Deus Ex, System Shock, right. BioShock, Vampire the Masquerade. These are all games that give certain types of gamers a lot of excitement, nerd boners, if you will. This is the kind of game that does... Oh, crap, he's not down here. He's somewhere else. My bad. This is the kind of game that really does... do that. Now you see actually here, there's one other thing I want to point out. One thing I wish is that the objective markers, like here it's a slackjaw 30 meters, you can actually choose. I can go to objectives and I can just click on this to disable it, no more marker. So if you want to play this like old school Thief, you can take all of the objective markers out and just figure it out. But if you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where things are, then you're stuck with this. There's no like... I can't assign a button to show me objectives and then disappear them when I let go of it. That would be the ideal for me, because like not have the clutter but have the option of really quickly looking at that rather than having to go through. And you can pick stuff up, you can throw stuff, you can eat people's bread. It's not a Thief game in the sense that nobody cares if you take whatever's on the shelf. This is more of a Zelda world, so I can just take things and no one gives a crap. So
I noticed after you killed those guys in the alley earlier that the guy who came walking out just sort of walked past them. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting that you can pull bodies and put them in shadows. Yeah. But I'm gathering that that's more contextual.
Well, we're like that area we were walking through outside the distillery is kind of a general area. Different missions and levels are connecting out from that hub. So when I'm in an actual mission, like a full mission, then you got to be more careful about hiding stuff, because then basically for the most part all the NPCs are people you don't want seeing you. They're guards who are going to send up alerts, who are going to challenge you. They're people who run screaming and let everybody else know where you are. So hiding bodies becomes more important. In that general, it's like a neutral zone. So that's kind of more of it's not quite an overworld, but same idea. And I love his pants, by the way. Like, nobody rocks.
He should go off
it anymore.
He is ready for a long day at the links.
So I'm going to give him Crowley's last words.
What's this? Information from my missing guy. Let's have a listen.
Good voice acting. Last Arcane games, not so much. This, top notch. That's Bethesda's fingerprints all over it.
Slackjaw, it's me, Crowley. I'm making this in case I don't make it back. He was right. There is someone wants you dead. Wants to take over the distillery and the whole Bottle Street gang. And you'll never believe who it is neither. At first I did. That's why it's taken me so long. I wanted to be
getting real dramatic here.
What's that? No! Ah!
Good line reading, Bob. That's exactly what it sounds like when you're surprised and then killed.
He was one of my best men. Still, you and me had a deal, and Slackjaw never goes back on a deal. Take this key. It ain't for the Golden Cat, no. This key's for the captain's chair. A hotel abandoned since the plague gutted this part of town. Take the stairs to the top. You can use the roof to get into the Golden Cat brothel.
So he's giving me a new way in
Slackjaw keeps a
to the main mission area. So now I have more options than I had before. So there's always good reason to do the side stuff beyond just more things to see and do. Now here's his next proposal.
Pendletons for you, quiet like and without killing them. But you gotta do something for me in return.
Tell me what you've got in mind.
The Cat's having a big reopening tonight. Lot of money clients, including an arts dealer named of Bunting. He's got particular tastes, or so I've been told by some of the ladies. Got some pretty fancy stuff locked away at his place, and the only thing preventing me from nabbing all that loot is the combination to his safe. Of course, the Pendletons have been camped out there for months too, not sure why. So that means a lot of the City Watch and other soldier types. Bring me that combination, my masked friend, and then I take care of the Pendleton brothers. Just like that. You ain't never even gonna touch them. And I promise, I won't kill them, and no one will ever see them again. Now if that ain't a deal, Slackjaw don't know what is.
So, Slackjaw is giving me an option because my mission is to kill the brothers, or basically to take care of them, to take them out of the picture. So far, the way the missions have worked, there's always a non-lethal way that tends to take a bit more doing rather than just going up and stabbing some dudes. And honestly, they're more interesting than just going up and stabbing them. So I'm way more interested in doing it his way rather than my way, which is killing people. Because again, killing people will have repercussions as you go through the game. So you've got to think about that stuff and how you're doing things. So overall, so far with Dishonored, I've got tons of different ways to approach things. I've got lots of cool powers to do it with. They give me everything right off the bat. They trust me as a player to be smart and use the tools and not get overwhelmed. This is not, I would say, a game for everybody. People who don't like the more open world style of approach to this, who don't like having to figure things out, who don't like being patient a bit with the stealth elements, that may not be the game for you. But for anybody else, I think Dishonored is from what I've played so far, I think it's going to be one of those games in the discussion for Game of the Year. Like it's very strong in what it's pulled together.
And even as a person who doesn't really care for stealth games in general, what really interests me is that it cuts out so much of the part that I don't like about stealth games, which is that kind of overextended waiting and that feeling of, being trapped in a place. That bleak idea alone is almost enough to get me past my hesitation with it, because it really does, going back to that idea, it trusts you as a player, but it also really, it gives you an ability that marginalizes that sense of, I've got to wait here for 15 minutes until somebody, until everybody happens to turn around exactly the same way at the same time so I can get past.
And there's an incredible sense of verticality, and there's a really good strong sense of options. And nice. Everything I've shown you here today it's not any of the main missions. It's just the general areas and some side areas. The missions themselves are much more designed and tuned and much more forcing you to use a lot of different abilities, sometimes very confined, sometimes very open. So I'm still, relatively speaking, early going with Dishonored, but so far I'm really enjoying it, and I'd recommend it to most players. This is the PC version. Apparently the console versions are pretty good. I mean, it's Unreal Engine. It's tough to screw that up at this point.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend you check this one out. And it is single player only. They have not tried to shoehorn any multiplayer in, which I appreciate.
Thank God.
Yeah, especially after the way XCOM's turned out, which is a bit of a disappointment. So there you go. That is Dishonored. Shawn, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.